What if non-duality is a cult? A conceptual cult, the kind that convinces you that you don't exist and then leaves you chasing videos and insights instead of living your actual life. People often show up already convinced they know exactly what this is supposed to be. They come in with that quiet, confident assumption that non-duality is an established doctrine, a settled truth, and they assume I'm here as a representative of it. So they bypass everything and go straight to the punchline. They say something like, I know no self theoretically, I just can't experience it for some reason. Can you help me see it? And every time I hear that, the same question hits me. When exactly did I agree to participate in this religion? When did I sign up to preach a doctrine? At what point did we silently decide that the idea of non-duality is reality itself? That assumption reveals the entire problem before any conversation even starts. You're not questioning your beliefs. You're asking me to help locate the experience that matches them. In other words, you don't want truth, you want confirmation. So let's tear this wide open. What if non-duality is a cult? A conceptual cult, the kind that convinces you that you don't exist and then leaves you chasing videos and insights instead of living your actual life. Because think about it, you can quite easily get hooked on this stuff. You can consume spiritual content the way some people consume conspiracy theories or self-help. It gives you that hit of significance, that feeling that you're on the verge of something. And suddenly, your whole identity orbits around a belief that you never really inspected. And what if the entire no-self narrative is just another idea? It sounds profound enough to bypass your skepticism. If that question makes something inside you tighten, good. Watch what happens in real time. Watch how fast you scramble to defend that idea. You look for quotes from teachers, you might search for your own experiences you've had that validate it. You'll try to intellectually reassure yourself that you're still on the right track. That reaction, that panic, is the thing I want you to see. I'm not saying non-duality is a cult, and I'm not saying it isn't. The label is irrelevant. The point is that your worldview collapses the moment one sentence threatens it. And if a worldview can be destabilized that easily, it never came from direct experience. It must have come from borrowing ideas that made you feel special. And if your reaction is the opposite, right? You hear that no self isn't really true, right? You think no self actually does look suspicious, and you jump to the opposite belief then. So if there is a self, what is it? Where is it? How do I make it more profound? How do I achieve a deepening? How do I connect with that self? Which belief do I adopt now? That approach is treating reality like a menu, as if truth comes in flavors, as if the goal is to choose the most spiritually impressive position. This whole movement, the desperate need for a belief to inhabit, is the trap. Because here's the reality we don't want to accept. regardless of how reasonable and accurate the belief sounds, and regardless of how well it represents objective reality, a belief cannot be true. Not spiritual beliefs, not philosophical beliefs, not psychological beliefs, not any beliefs. A belief is a mental object, a symbolic convenience, a placeholder for insecurity, something the mind invents because it cannot stand the rawness of not knowing. And a belief doesn't become true because it's ancient or poetic. It doesn't become false because I jokingly call something a cult. Because really the content of that belief is completely irrelevant. The mechanism behind it is everything. And that mechanism is simple. You cling to ideas to avoid the collapse of the person who believes them. That's the core addiction. It's not awakening, not liberation, not enlightenment, not seeing your true nature. The addiction is to meaning, and anything that threatens that meaning feels like death. And here's something you can't really escape. None of that touches what's actually here. The belief-making machinery can scream, collapse, panic, defend itself. None of that changes the immediacy of right now by an inch. That immediacy doesn't need your agreement, and it doesn't care what you believe, doesn't care what you hope for, doesn't care about your expectations. It doesn't wait for you to understand it. It doesn't become more real if you say no self, and it doesn't disappear if you say self. It's here before the spiritual story even begins. It's here during it, and it's here after it implodes. And that's the thing you keep missing while protecting your conceptual identity. The raw, unowned, uninterpreted immediacy is already happening. Nothing about it depends on your worldview. So the next time you hear someone say self, no self, awakening, non-duality, whatever, you don't need to pick a side. You don't need to grab a belief. You don't need to build a new spiritual personality. Just watch the mechanism activate in real time. Watch the identity defend itself. Watch how the need for certainty kicks in. And that seeing alone can collapse the entire structure. And what remains, this plain, exposed immediacy, requires nothing from you. No belief, no identity, no spiritual posture. It was never hidden. You were just busy protecting the thing that interprets it. But there's no need for that. Right here, we're not talking about beliefs. We're not talking about their contents. We're not here to confirm them. We're not here to reject them. What's here right now without beliefs? What's already actually here?